It's just a grainy shot from a single camera, but today it gripped and horrified a courtroom in London, Ontario. Because what that camera captured 3 years ago is a chilling interrogation. The video shows Terri-Lynne McClintic recounting in disturbing detail the murder of 8-year-old Tori Stafford. Claims that contradict what McClintic is telling the jury about the man now on trial, her former boyfriend, Michael Rafferty. Our Melanie Nagy was in the court today watching the day's dramatic proceedings. She's in London, Ontario tonight. Melanie.
Peter, in court, Terri-Lynne McClintic has insisted that she killed Tori Stafford. Today, the judge not only allowed the jury to view the dramatic police interrogation of McClintic, but use it as evidence against Michael Rafferty.
You want to make that happen? Let me know. We'll take you to the room. You can talk.
This video was taken just a few weeks after 8-year-old Tori Stafford went missing. It begins with McClintic sitting in a small room, not far from her reach, a pastry and a drink. At first glance, it looks like a casual encounter. It's anything but.
You've been talking to Mrs. Leroy, your lawyer?
In the video, McClintic reveals for the first time the horrifying details of how Tori was murdered. She says by Rafferty.
And that's what you need to be truthful about. And I know it's hard to talk about.
Detective Sergeant Jim Smith is the interrogator. He's the same man who managed to get Russell Williams to confess. Smith prods McClintic gently, asking for details of what happened on April 8, 2009.
When I seen Mike with Tori on his lap, I turned my head because I didn't want to see it. I could hear her calling my name.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
McClintic describes Tori's rape, then claims Rafferty kicked and finally beat her to death with a hammer.
Where did he hit her with the hammer?
And she had a garbage bag over, so there wasn't afterwards. Like, this pretty much what made it easy. He knew what he was doing.
The interview actually lasted several hours. It ends with Smith encouraging McClintic to draw a map of where the murder happened and Tori's body was dumped. That map would eventually help police find the body months later. McClintic's version of the murder detailed in the video contradicts what she told the court last week, that she killed Tori. She says she lied in the video because she couldn't accept she was capable of something so heinous. The defense today began cross-examination by submitting several disturbing letters McClintic wrote about a year before Tori's abduction. In the letters, McClintic describes her love of violence and desire to hurt others. Cross-examination continues tomorrow. Peter?
All right, Melanie, thanks very much. Melanie Nagy in London. Now, you may remember that interrogation video of Russell Williams that led to his murder confession. And as Melanie mentioned, the interrogator in today's video is the same man, Detective Sergeant Jim Smith of the OPP. He's considered one of the best, and to understand his techniques, we've again invited private investigator, former police interrogator David Perry into the studio. It's important that we point out that what we witnessed today came after 5 days of interviews with McClintic. How does one assess, going in there, into that room, the state of mind of the person you're talking to?
By gathering background information and getting all the details that you can on the individual to make some kind of, at least in the initial stages, a brief assessment of them, their personality, what kind of an individual, what kind of a prior history they might have. All of this information to help us best form the strategy to go in and use to hopefully get a confession. All
right, we want to watch a part of this interview. It's quite telling in terms of technique. Here we go.
Terri, now we're 99%. Okay. You guys didn't leave Tori there, right? You took everything with you, including Tori, and you know that.
No, we didn't. I know that.
Terri, listen to me for a second, okay? All right? That doesn't make any sense. You've got a girl wrapped up in garbage bags right beside the door. You have to get in to get in that car.
Tori, and I know that. I didn't. When I see that, what happened? Tori didn't come with us. I 100% know that.
Listen to me for a second, okay? I don't know why you don't want to tell me, okay? But you need to tell me the truth about where Tori ended up.
I am.
She didn't stay in that field. She didn't.
Yes, she did. I'm not,
Terri, listen. It doesn't make you any more guilty.
I know that.
To help him get rid of her body. It doesn't. Okay? All right? This is already the most serious charge. It doesn't get worse. Okay?
I'm aware of that. I'm not here for anything for myself. I'm not.
But that's why we need to talk about the fact that he didn't leave Tori lying there.
Yes, he did. We did.
Now that eventually led to McClintic saying where the body could be found, and it was Detective Sergeant Smith who went and found that body. Here's what I want to get at. Watching that, it was interesting because Smith had done Russell Williams. Very different kind of interrogation. There, it almost looked in your face when you saw him swing his chair over and get right in front of her to talk to her. Talk to me about that.
To some people, this might look like in your face. Being an experienced interviewer myself, I would say all he's trying to do here is to be more empathetic with her and to continue to build a rapport with her. And by moving in closely at the right time, and the timing is very important, sometimes we can solidify that bond that we're trying to establish with the person that we're interviewing. He's in her personal space. There are very few people who we allow into our personal space, and as an interviewer it's even more complicated. But there's a psychology to this whole process, and Jim Smith is doing a very, very good job of moving in, you know, getting very, very personal with the accused in an attempt to get her to disclose what appears to be the most difficult thing for her to talk about, where they left the body.
He never had to do that with Williams, right? It seemed to be more distant, more sort of officer to officer, which was a specific technique used successfully on Williams.
Yeah, there are some differences, but there would be a lot of similarities as well. Quite often when we're doing these interviews, you sort of roll the dice, if you will, on which technique is going to work the best, and you slide in from one technique into the next. A good interviewer like Jim Smith would have dozens of techniques that he could attempt to apply, and from what I'm seeing here, he's doing a very good job of moving in at the right time. You can tell that the accused is not uncomfortable with him moving in, which is a really good sign. Again, the hope here at this particular time is that she's going to look him in the eye and tell him her deepest, darkest secret about where that body was left.
I want to show one other clip, and this is, she doesn't talk at all in this. He's once again trying to draw her out, and this is the way he tries to do that. Watch this.
Okay, Terri, let's talk about what you saw. Okay, you can't have your back turned like that, right? You saw this, okay? This isn't a matter of what you heard, all right? Let's talk about what you saw, all right? You're concerned about this little girl, all right? You're not going to turn your back on her, all right? Okay, we need to talk about the things you saw. And this can come out quickly. You know what? You know how I look at this situations like this, Terri, because people have to talk to me about these things quite often, okay? And I look at this as like taking off a Band-Aid, all right? You can do it quickly and get it done, right? You can just keep pulling it a little bit at a time, and that's what hurts, right? That's what you're going through right now. We need to just tear that Band-Aid off, okay? Just tell me what you saw, okay?
People have to talk about this kind of stuff to me often, he says. How does an interviewer, an interrogator, we in the public tend to call you, how do they live with that? How do they live with having to listen to this kind of stuff?
Well, you certainly don't start at that level. People like Jim and others take many, many years to build the skills that are required to walk in and, first of all, be able to handle themselves properly and appropriately to get a legal confession, something that's going to stand up in court, and to be able to hear the tough stuff. And it takes time. I've been asked that by many people that I know, how do you deal with this? The answer is I don't really know. I think most of us do what a psychiatrist or a psychologist would say not to do. We learn how to put it away in a compartment and close the door, and hopefully it never comes out.
Okay, I'm out of time, but I got to ask you one quick last question. What do you think Smith is thinking tonight, knowing that the confession he got out of McClintic during this interrogation is not the story she's telling in court now?
Yeah, I'm sure he feels a sense of frustration to spend all of that time and to get the story and to have her suddenly change when she's testifying in court. When there are multiple accused, quite often prior inconsistent statements become a real issue. People change their stories for a variety of reasons, and I'm sure Jim is used to that. I'm sure he's had it happen to him before, the same as I had, but I'm sure, just like me, he's probably feeling very frustrated about what's happened.
All right, leave it at that. Thanks once again.
My pleasure.